News at noon.
We start with a developing story here today at noon. The search for 3 Afghan Army officers who vanished over the weekend while training at a military base on Cape Cod. The 3 left the base for a trip to a shopping mall, but they never came back.
And now we're hearing from the military and Governor Deval Patrick about why the public should not be concerned in this case. So these 3 were taking part in training exercises at Camp Edwards, and that's not far from Buzzards Bay. That's where we find 7's Nicole Oliverio live outside the base with the latest on what we know at this hour. Nicole?
That's right, Krista. Well, this has made it all the way to the Pentagon, and of course they say that they take these issues very seriously. However, state police, who's also involved in the investigation, says they believe the threat to the public is extremely low, that these men possibly are trying to defect and that they don't pose a threat to the public.
A search is underway for 3 missing Afghan military officers who disappeared from the Camp Edwards base in Bourne.
Right now, there's a combined effort with the Central Command, the Massachusetts National Guard, the state police, and the local officials to actually locate the soldiers.
The men were last seen at the Cape Cod Mall Saturday night. Military sources say it was a chaperone visit, but that the men never checked back in with security at the base.
They do speak English. Nobody has heard from them since Saturday.
The men were here with a group of 15 members of the Afghanistan National Army for a training exercise that promotes peacekeeping operations.
They all have valid visas and passports, so there's no concern of a threat at this time. It's as if you went to another country with your passport, so they were actually able to go off the base if they wanted.
The National Guard says there's more than 200 soldiers from 5 different countries taking part in the training, and that each is vetted extensively. The National Guard says there's no threat to the public, and Governor Deval Patrick believes we shouldn't worry.
Obviously concerned to have military officials who are not foreign military officials who are not accounted for, but there is no basis that the military has given us to be concerned about security issues.
So the men were supposed to be in this country until Wednesday. According to state police, they say that those visas will be valid until then, and until then, they are in this country legally. That's latest live in Bourne. Nicole Oliverio, 7 News.
All right, Nicole, so a similar incident happened in Washington, D.C. just last week when 2 police officers from Afghanistan disappeared while in training at the nation's capital. They were there for drug trafficking training with the DEA. Investigators say the men claimed they didn't want to return to Afghanistan. They were eventually found, and they're now back in their home country. So make sure you stay here with 7 News as the search for the missing Afghan National Army officers continue. When we're not on the air, you can find us online at whdh.com.
And this just in, a friend of a suspected Boston Marathon bomber Johar Tsarnaev is asking to have his trial moved outside of Boston. The attorneys for Robel Filippo's filing a request, hoping to have that trial moved either to Springfield, Providence, or to Portland, Maine. Now, Filippo's is accused of lying to federal investigators after the bombings, and his attorneys claim that he had no knowledge at all of the attack before it happened. He's a college friend of Johar Tsarnaev, the surviving suspect of the marathon bombings, who is still behind bars. He's awaiting his own trial. And Tsarnaev's attorneys have also requested a change of venue, but so far no ruling from the judge on that. New at noon here today, Sky 7 HD over Saugus, where police say a crash caused this small bus to tip over this morning. Police say looks like a mess, but really it could have been a lot worse. Let's check in live with 7's Steve Cooper. He's in Saugus with more on how this happened. Steve?
Yeah, Krista, some pretty unsettling moments here just a few hours ago. Now, Birchwood Ave has reopened to traffic. The wreckage cleared away just a short time ago, but we've now learned that the driver who caused the crash is under arrest.
I don't see too many accidents like this.
Police and firefighters in Saugus arriving at the intersection of Walnut Street and Birchwood Ave Monday morning to find an MBTA shuttle van known as the Ride on its side after being struck from behind by the driver of this pickup truck.
Frightened. I just glad that, the drivers are right, and I hope that the people inside are all right as well.
One male passenger in his 40s was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. A second passenger and the driver walked away. You okay?
I guess so, yeah.
No comment. Hey, no comment.
No comment.
Transit police were reconstructing the crash before the driver of the pickup truck was arrested at the scene.
The driver that was arrested, the charges against that driver, what?
It's going to be unlicensed operation and several other motor vehicle violations as well.
Residents say this stretch of road has seen its share of accidents. While once again, it's just sheer luck, they say, that no one was seriously hurt here.
People just don't pay attention, you know? Who's on the phone, you know, that's all that stuff. I mean, people, they're in another world when they're driving.
Transit police telling me a few minutes ago that they don't believe that alcohol or drugs or even texting played a role in what happened here earlier today, but they do say their investigation is continuing and that suspect who was arrested here at the scene could be in court as early as this afternoon. We're live in Saugus. Steve Cooper, 7 News.
Well, fierce flames ripping through a car lot in Sudbury, destroying several high-end cars. And today, police are trying to figure out who's behind the fire. 7's Jonathan Hall is live at the car lot with the latest details. John?
Hey, Kana, good afternoon. A real mystery here in Sudbury as this fire destroys more than a dozen luxury vehicles overnight. This Land Rover Jaguar dealership is located on busy Route 20 at the Sudbury-Wayland line. 20 vehicles, including Land Rovers and a Jeep Cherokee, were destroyed or damaged. The fire chief says they were parked quite closely together, and 8 of them were fully involved by the time his crews arrived just after 1 a.m. Some of the cars for sale here retail for $70,000, $80,000, even more than $100,000. About 1 a.m., a driver noticed the flames and dialed 911. The fire department managed to get the spreading fire under control with the help of the Marlborough Fire Department, which also showed up. Now, Herb Chambers came by his dealership to check on the cars and his people. He's just glad nobody was hurt, but the damage likely will be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Obviously, it's a disaster. I don't know whose cars they are, whether they're customers' cars or our cars. I hope that they're my cars. You know, I haven't had a chance to see them, so it doesn't look good.
There is surveillance video from the wall of the dealership, and the investigators have been taking a close look at it.
Now, it might be quite dark. No word on whether that video will be released to us so we can show it to you. We're live in Sudbury. Jonathan Hall, 7 News.
All right, John, thank you. So an invisible danger forcing people to clear out of a neighborhood in Boston. Emergency crews swarmed the Longwood medical area over reports of a gas leak. 7's Victoria Warren has the latest from the scene.
We're talking about a liquid nitrogen leak that was leaking just outside of this building over here. If it had gotten inside, the danger was very real. People could have gotten hurt or even died from lack of oxygen.
A fog of liquid nitrogen outside Harvard School of Public Health. The hazardous leak forcing hundreds of people to evacuate as fire crews shut down 3 buildings.
The main danger from it is asphyxiation. In other words, that gas could displace the oxygen in the air, and then, we can't breathe if we don't have oxygen.
Fire officials say it all started when 2 3,000-pound tanks were filled with liquid nitrogen in the morning. For some reason, the pressure relief valve on one let go. The gas is not flammable, but they did worry about oxygen levels inside the buildings.
We did air monitoring in all the buildings.
You could see it coming up there. The thing that impressed me was the amount of fire department response.
The condensation cloud of nitrogen blanketed the ground as dozens of emergency workers crammed into the congested Longwood area. This professor was just arriving to give a lecture and instead went out to breakfast with his students.
I had a great opportunity to spend some time with the students who are out here.
For others, it was a major inconvenience. This woman drove for hours for a dental appointment.
I was pretty upset, to put it mildly, considering that I just driven all the way from Vermont.
By mid-morning, the buildings were back open, and luckily, no one was hurt.
Thank God these gas tanks were outside.
The investigation into why the pressure relief valve failed continues. Live in Boston, Victoria Warren, 7 News.
Now to the latest on that security scare at the White House. And what you're seeing here is video of a man running through the White House lawn. Actually made it to the front doors before getting tackled by the Secret Service. So the president had just left the White House with his daughters minutes before the security scare. But now the Secret Service is working to figure out how this guy made it so far. It's really scary. Here's 7's Chris Anderson with the latest. Chris?
Yeah, Krista, that's a question Secret Service would love answered. Lawmakers want answered. It's happened before, people jumping over the White House fence, but someone making it that far and through the front doors of the White House, simply unprecedented. And the agency, the Secret Service, is reportedly planning to discuss installing new security checkpoints blocks away from the White House to prevent something like this from happening again. Here's another look at this video. not only this one breach that happened on Friday, but a second security breach on Saturday. Police say, though, the man involved in that first one is 42-year-old Omar Gonzalez, actually served our country in Iraq. He jumped the fence at the White House, managed to make it into the building. President Obama and the first family had left just moments before this happened. They weren't at the White House. They were on their way to Camp David. Investigators say Gonzalez, who is from Texas, had a pocket knife on him at the time. He is due in federal court later today. The second incident, another man who was arrested near the White House Saturday afternoon, where investigators say he drove up to a security checkpoint, refused to leave. He was arrested. Bomb experts searched his car, but didn't find any explosives.
It's one thing if it was a complicated plot, but this is so basic and so really so essential. It's hard to believe it occurred.
We will need a complete investigation, explanation of what happened, but even more importantly, what steps they're going to take to make sure it doesn't happen again.
In those extra security checkpoints, one of those potential steps, despite the security breaches at the White House, President Obama says he still has complete confidence in the Secret Service. Live here in the newsroom, Chris Anderson, 7 News.
Well, President Obama plans to discuss ISIS at the UN General Assembly on Wednesday. 120-plus presidents and prime ministers will be in New York City for the annual meeting and will be tackling issues like ISIS, Ebola, and Ukraine. President Obama will focus on his speech on ISIS and call for the world to help fight that threat. Also on 7, cooler temperatures, periods of rain, helping thousands of firefighters battle this huge wildfire in Northern California. Fast-moving flames have burned more than 82,000 acres of an area east of Sacramento. 3 dozen buildings have been destroyed.
Now to the Patriots pulling off a win in their home opener.
Right, looks over the middle, popped up and intercepted. Vince Wilfork.
Oh, Big Vince with a big play, sealing the deal for the Pats. You know it wasn't pretty, but they still got the win. Win's a win, right? Final score, 16-9 against Oakland. So the defense was strong, but 3 weeks into the season, the offense still clearly struggling. Here's 7 Sports Director Joe Marcino with a recap.
Good morning. The Patriots continue their home field dominance, but their offense was anything but dominant. Tom Brady remains out of sync with the majority of his receivers, lacking rhythm in the passing game. The Pats defense delivering the win for the 2nd straight week. Brady and the Pats taking the field at home for the first time this season, down 3-zip in the 2nd quarter. Brady leads the Pats on a 15-play, 84-yard drive, capped off by this 6-yard TD hookup with Rob Gronkowski. Pats led it 10-3 at the half. The offense struggled for most of the game. Julian Edelman stays hot, though. 10 catches for 84 yards, including this grab where he flipped out literally to set up a field goal. The Raiders had the ball in the red zone, down 7 with under a minute to go. Vince Wilfork comes up with an interception on that bouncing ball to end it. Pats squeak it out, 16-9 the final.
I just happened to catch it, so the credit don't go all to me. The credit go to the defense, because without the coverage in the end zone, without the coverage, man-to-man coverage what we're in, without the bobbled ball, without them 2 other guys on the line of scrimmage rushing with me, you know, that play probably wouldn't happen. So that's a great defensive play.
We had some opportunities there to score more points and didn't come away with it. So you know, we left some chances on the field and certainly scoring opportunities. And that's something we're going to have to obviously get a lot better at. So keep working at it.
Joe Amorosino, 7 News.
So the Pats' next challenge, definitely a tougher one. New England heads to Kansas City for a Monday night matchup against the Chiefs, who crushed the Miami Dolphins yesterday.
Coming up, it was high fives all around July. Well, kind of except for that. More on Robert Kraft's high five fail.
High five. Okay. Forecast coming up next. Looks good.
All right, JR. Also a serious health scare down in Texas as doctors race to test hundreds of babies possibly exposed to tuberculosis.
Also, the search intensifies for a missing Virginia college student gone for a week. Now, her parents are making a desperate plea.
And a man biking right into danger. He thought he was safe, and then things quickly take a turn. We'll have more of this caught on camera coming up on 7 News at noon today. Stay with us. details today in the search for a Virginia college student who disappeared more than a week ago. She's 18 years old, and her parents spoke out for the first time yesterday.
So now we're learning an arrest warrant has been issued in connection with this case. 7's Chris Anderson is joining us with the latest on that investigation. Chris?
Yeah, Hannah's parents speaking out for the very first time, and they're asking anyone who may know anything to please come forward. This is police are speaking to a person of interest in connection with the disappearance. Officers still maintain, though, that there is someone else out there who knows something.
This is every parent's worst nightmare. I'm certain that everybody in this room and those watching knows that what happened to Hannah could happen to their child.
Speaking publicly for the first time since their daughter disappeared, Hannah Graham's parents are pleading for help.
Hannah is also our little girl. She's our only daughter, and she's James's little sister. Hannah is also the oldest granddaughter, and she's actually my parents' only granddaughter. And she's enormously precious to us all. Please, 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 if you have anything, however insignificant you think it may be, call the police tip line with anything that just might help us to bring Hannah home.
The 18-year-old UVA college student simply disappeared early last Saturday morning.
I believe Jesse Matthew was the last person she was seen with before she vanished off the face of the earth.
Police are now naming 32-year-old Jesse Matthew a person of interest and say that's him in this surveillance video, walking with Graham just after 1 a.m.
We want to talk to Jesse Matthew.
Witnesses say they saw the two together at a local bar, according to police who believe the college student may have gotten into Matthew's orange Chrysler. Now, he's wanted for reckless driving after he went into the police station Saturday asking for a lawyer. Police say he left without being questioned and took off at a high speed, losing authorities. This weekend, more than 1,000 people helped search for Hannah as her parents desperately hold out hope.
All we want to do now is to bring Hannah home safely.
So tough as they try to remain optimistic. There is a $50,000 reward for any information that can lead to finding Hannah Graham. Live here in the newsroom, Chris Anderson, 7 News.
All right, Chris, thank you. And still ahead, a fake tip that could cause serious damage to your smartphone. It's a not so smart idea. Straight ahead.
Patriots, but I mean, he can just get a high five whenever he wants. So Gronk scores a touchdown. And then Mr. Kraft, hey, Mark Wahlberg, hey, give me a high five. They're in the owner's box together. He had to tap him on the shoulder twice before Wahlberg would even turn around and acknowledge him. But Chris and I keep discussing, we never really get to see that through. We only see the tapping. We don't actually see the high five.
I would love to see how that all came to be. Exactly. He did not leave him hanging, I'm sure of it, JR.
Not at all. Exactly. And that has happened to all of us, mainly me. But we are talking about a nice end to summer, with summer departing at 10:28 this evening, fall beginning at 10:29. And that's the autumnal equinox. Dry week with a mix of clouds and sunshine. Temps will be seasonal, and then eventually we'll start to warm things back up once again. The city right now at 71. W23, WD40, no, west wind 23 miles per hour, helping to flush out the humidity that we had yesterday overnight and very early this morning, but that humidity is long gone. Right now in town, 71. Bedford at 69. Here are the westerly winds, not just a Boston thing. Back through the Worcester Hills, Merrimack Valley, South Shore, Cape and the Islands, anywhere between 10 and 20 miles per hour, shoving the moisture out of here. Dew point temps have been crashing down through the 40s to around 50 in Boston. So a very dry, crisp, comfortable air mass taking hold with a mix of clouds and sunshine. High pressure is about ready to move in. It's moving in as we speak. It'll be here overnight tonight. And really for the next several days, it's not going to move much. So we're talking about pleasant conditions with mostly sunny skies. Breezy at times. West wind will settle down a little bit this afternoon, 7 to 17 miles per hour. Temps between 70 and 75. Pollen in the moderate category and mold spores running in the mild category. Now for tonight, it will be much cooler than where we were last night and early this morning. When you sent the kids out to school this morning, it was in the 60s. Tomorrow morning, it'll be down into the 40s to around 52 in Boston. So It's a cooler day tomorrow, the first full day of fall, but it's a day that features a lot of sunshine. And temperatures again this afternoon, upper 60s to the low 70s. Because we're starting tomorrow in the 40s, we'll finish tomorrow in the upper 60s, pretty close to normal. The city tomorrow afternoon around 69 and Bedford at 68. Jet stream for the next several days is going to flow out of the Canadian prairies as opposed to the Gulf of Mexico or the eastern seaboard. And anytime that happens, usually you will be in a dry pattern, and no different this go around. And we could use some rain. Only July offering rainfall numbers above normal, and for the month of September running about 2 inches below normal. So there's one chance of some showers very late Thursday night and Friday morning, but at this time they appear isolated. Otherwise, we're talking about dry conditions. And you notice the upcoming weekend, going to try to warm it back up, upper 70s to around 80.
Up next, some inspiring faces hitting their stride. More on a very special day for survivors of the marathon bombings.
But first, if you want to catch Derek Jeter's final trip to Fenway, it's going to cost you more on the big price to see the retiring Bronx Bomber.
So you might have heard there is a must-see matchup coming to Fenway Park, but the Red Sox season-ending homestand, it's definitely going to cost you. Tickets for Sunday's season finale against the Yankees are on StubHub, with the cheapest seat at last check, we should mention, going for $222. That is also, by the way, Derek Jeter's final big league game. You can compare that with tomorrow night's game against Tampa, where you can easily find a seat for under $10. So real bargain there with Tampa Bay, huh?
Well, right. And even, you know, the most hardcore Boston fans, that's a big honor for him, I think.
It is. He's a class act. Yeah. You know, good to see him, you know, go off in style, right?
I agree. Much more to come now in the next half hour of 7 News, including the latest on the search for 3 Afghan officers who've disappeared while training on Cape Cod.
Sunny and breezy for the afternoon. Forecast for the week up next.
Also ahead, a dangerous diagnosis for hundreds of newborn babies, where doctors down in Texas fear they may have tuberculosis.
Well, we continue to follow a developing story here at 12:30. The search continues for 3 Afghan Army officers who vanished over the weekend while training at a military base in Cape Cod. Military officials are saying the 3 left the base for a short trip to the shopping mall, but then never returned.
So right now, this all-out search is on to find these 3 officers. They were taking part in training exercises at Camp Edwards, and that's not far from Buzzards Bay, which is also where we find 7's Nicole Oliverio outside the base with the latest information that we're getting in minute by minute. Here, Nicole.
That's right, Christabel. Obviously, the Pentagon has been informed, but they don't believe, why they say they take it seriously, they don't believe that this poses a security threat. State police also now commenting they're involved in the search. They say that they believe the risk and the threat to the public is very low, and that they believe these men may be trying to find a way to stay in the country.
A search is underway for 3 missing Afghan military officers who disappeared from the Camp Edwards base in Bourne.
Right now, there's a combined effort with the Central Command, the Massachusetts National Guard, the state police, and the local officials to actually locate the soldiers.
The men were last seen at the Cape Cod Mall Saturday night. Military sources say it was a chaperone visit, but that the men never checked back in with security at the base.
They do speak English. Nobody has heard from them since Saturday.
The men were here with a group of 15 members of the Afghanistan National Army for a training exercise that promotes peacekeeping operations.
They all have valid visas and passports, so there's no concern of a threat at this time. It's you know, as if you went to another country with your passport, so they were actually able to go off the base if they wanted.
The National Guard says there's more than 200 soldiers from 5 different countries taking part in the training, and that each is vetted extensively. The National Guard says there's no threat to the public, and Governor Deval Patrick believes we shouldn't worry.
Obviously concerned to have military officials who are not foreign military officials who are not accounted for, but there is no basis that the military has given us to be concerned about security issues.
The men have been in the country here for 11 days, and we're told that their visas don't expire until Wednesday, so they are in the country legally until then. That's the latest live in Bourne. Nicole Oliverio, 7 News.
All right, Nicole, and be sure to stay with 7 News as the search for the missing Afghan National Army officers continues here. When we're not on the air, you can also catch the latest information online at whdh.com.
7 people, including 2 children, are recovering after a boat explodes in Charlestown. The 38-foot boat was fueling up at a dock when it suddenly burst into flames on Sunday. One person did have burns to both legs, but firefighters say everyone is expected to be okay. And major delays along 183 in Milton during this morning's commute following a multi-car accident that included a school bus. There are very few details on the crash right now other than it backed up traffic well into Canton and Stoughton. An invisible danger forcing people to clear out of a Boston neighborhood today. Emergency crews swarmed the Longwood medical area after reports of a gas leak. 7's Victoria Warren is live on the scene to tell us more about the scare. Vicki?
Well, Krista, we're talking about liquid nitrogen, which was leaking outside of this building that you see behind me. The danger would have been if any of this had gotten into the building, then the danger would have been very real. People could have gotten sick or even died from lack of oxygen.
A fog of liquid nitrogen outside Harvard School of Public Health. The hazardous leak forcing hundreds of people to evacuate as fire crews shut down 3 buildings.
The main danger from it is asphyxiation. In other words, that gas could displace the oxygen in the air, and then we can't breathe if we don't have oxygen.
Fire officials say it all started when 2 3,000-pound tanks were filled with liquid nitrogen in the morning. For some reason, the pressure relief valve on one let go. The gas is not flammable, but they did worry about oxygen levels inside the buildings.
We did air monitoring in all the buildings.
You could see it coming up there. The thing that impressed me was the amount of fire department response.
The condensation cloud of nitrogen blanketed the ground as dozens of emergency workers crammed into the congested Longwood area. This professor was just arriving to give a lecture and instead went out to breakfast with his students.
I had a great opportunity to spend some time with the students who are out here.
For others, it was a major inconvenience. This woman drove for hours for a dental appointment.
I was pretty upset, to put it mildly, considering that I just driven all the way from Vermont.
By mid-morning, the buildings were back open, and luckily, no one was hurt.
Thank God these gas tanks were outside.
The investigation into why the pressure relief valve failed continues. Live in Boston, Victoria Warren, 7 News.
Well, federal agents joining in the manhunt in Pennsylvania for the man suspected in the ambush-style shooting of 2 state troopers. As they close in on this 2-day emergency lockdown, it's been lifted in the Pocono Mountains. Although there are no confirmed sightings of the suspect, police say they're hot on his trail in the dense wooded area near his parents' home. 31-year-old Eric Freen is the man that they're looking for. He's described as a survivalist with a grudge against police, and authorities say that he opened fire from the woods near the state police barracks 10 days ago, killing 1 state trooper and injuring another. And 2 people killed in a tour bus crash in Delaware. 4 dozen others were hurt. One of the victims was actually found trapped underneath the bus. The crash happened on a sharp and tight curve, and speed has been a factor in previous crashes there. Right now, the cause is still under investigation.
And an update now on the Ebola outbreak in Sierra Leone has ended its nationwide lockdown that it ordered last week to stop the spread of Ebola. For 3 days, no one was allowed to leave their homes. And during that time, tens of thousands of volunteers knocked on doors. They're trying to educate people about this deadly disease. Meantime, Massachusetts Dr. Rick Sacra is expected to make a full recovery. He's being treated at a hospital out in Nebraska. According to doctors who are treating him, Sacra would be able to leave the hospital once he has 2 clean blood tests in a span of 24 hours.
Doctors in Texas are testing more than 700 newborns over fears that they may have been exposed to tuberculosis. 7's Chris Anderson is joining us with the latest on this story. Chris?
Yeah, Kana, as you can imagine, so much concern here. These babies aren't the only ones, though, concerned. Officials believe at least 40 of those hospital workers could have also been exposed to tuberculosis when they came in contact with a worker who has an active case of TB.
I need some answers.
It is the worst possible nightmare for a hospital and for parents. Newborn babies exposed while still in the nursery to tuberculosis, a disease that left untreated could be deadly. Jessica Martinez gave birth to Sebastian last October at Providence Memorial Hospital in El Paso. She is one of more than 700 mothers in Texas and New Mexico who had their children here in the last year.
TB is a serious but treatable disease.
All of them got this alarming letter from the El Paso Department of Health warning their infant may have been infected with TB. A hospital employee who worked in the nursery was recently diagnosed with tuberculosis. Officials are not releasing her name but say she's been put on leave. The hospital says so far no other employees have tested positive for the illness.
Babies are vulnerable, especially their immune systems are not as strong, they are at risk, without a doubt.
In a statement, Providence Memorial says, "We take our obligation to our patients, employees, and the community very seriously. We have taken actions that are designed to prevent a similar incident from occurring."
Even if he's not sick, it's just that fear that it gives me that he could be and that I couldn't prevent it is what kills me inside.
Now, once this tuberculosis problem was discovered, health officials decided to inspect the entire hospital, but they also found there were other infected areas along with health code violations. The hospital has until tomorrow to come up with a plan to fix all of those uncovered issues. Live here in the newsroom, Chris Anderson, 7 News.
Well, Boston Marathon bombing survivors and amputees are running again. More than 50 people practiced yesterday using their prosthetics at a free running clinic at Harvard. In attendance, you see there Jane Richards. She was kicking the soccer ball. She lost her leg during that attack. Her 8-year-old brother Martin died in the bombings. Experts at the clinic helped them improve their speed, balance, and just overall help them stay encouraged.
Go, Joey, you got this. It's nice to be able to show other people that it can be done, and I've learned that from people that I've met. The people I met here last year when I was brand new to running, and it definitely encouraged me to keep going.
Well, the event is one of 6 free running and mobility clinics offered annually nationwide. And Heather Abbott is always so modest. She can paddleboard.
So inspirational. Still ahead here on 7 News, a heartwarming homecoming down in Texas as a Queen's royal gesture puts a smile on everybody's faces.
Mostly sunny skies for the afternoon. Bit of a cooling trend this week. Numbers up next.
And a father finds out his daughter has a heck of an arm, just found out at the wrong time.
And more on the souvenir she sent flying ahead on 7 News.
Tonight, Odin Lloyd like you've never seen him before. See him smile, hear him laugh.
Who's the clown now?
In the video shared with just one station. Tonight at 11.
Oh, there's this new ad out, and it's telling iPhone users something ridiculous, that the latest operating system on the iPhone 6 will allow you to charge it in the microwave. Yeah, don't do that. It's a prank. Do not put your phone in the microwave. You'll just end up with a cooked phone. These same pranksters also previously put an ad out, and I remember this, saying that a system upgrade would then make your phone waterproof.
Unbelievable.
It's magic.
Yeah. All right, now to a story caught on camera and a bicyclist surviving this dramatic car crash in Russia. Oh my goodness, here you can see this box truck slamming into a car. The car goes into a tailspin and then it goes right on top of him. Do you know that after a few seconds he gets up and walks away? Look at that. That is amazing. Because I thought maybe it would clip him, but it looks like it just... That is unbelievable. Thank goodness he's all right. It's a pretty compelling video to watch.
That is, when he gets up, it's like, you know what? I'll leave the bike there. I'm all set.
I'm done with this biking thing.
Yeah.
What is going on in Russia? I mean, you got guys that are hopping up on the backs of the motorcycles.
We see it all, though, because everybody has dashboard cameras and light cameras. So maybe there's stuff like that happening everywhere.
Man, just, slow down in those intersections, boys and girls. All right, we are talking about summer on its way out. Nice afternoon, mix of clouds and sunshine. The week, it is dry. There may be a few isolated showers on Friday afternoon, but I don't see any significant rain heading this way anytime soon. And seasonal temps right now at 72. West wind at 16 miles per hour, helping to lower the dew point temperature. That was near 70 around midnight, and that has been dropping steadily all morning long, and now the first part of the afternoon. In the city, 72. Provincetown at 72. Getting a little bit of a westerly breeze developing through the morning and into the afternoon. Essentially anywhere between 10 and 20 miles per hour. And again, it's grabbing this drier air through southern Canada and New York State and yanking it into New England. So we've got a nice afternoon, a little bit on the breezy side with a mix of clouds and sunshine. Temperatures this afternoon in the low to middle 70s as high pressure will build into New England, be with us overnight tonight. And really, the little blue H over here, not really moving much. It'll be pleasant through the end of the week, and even then, just a glancing blow from a storm to our south. So we've got sunshine and numbers between 70 and 75, westerly breeze around 10 to 15 miles per hour, pollen in the moderate category, mold spores in the mild category. For tonight, clear, cooler, lows outside of Metro Boston down into the 40s. I think the city itself right around 52. And then for tomorrow, a lot of sunshine and pleasant, upper 60s tomorrow. This afternoon, Hyannis at 74. And then tomorrow afternoon, because of the cooler start, it'll be a cooler afternoon. But, you know, not too bad. Nothing like it was last Friday. That was chilly last Friday. Upper 60s tomorrow. Middle of the week, seasonably cool. And then by the end of the week, and more so for the upcoming weekend, look at the jet stream configuration like this. It'll be mild and dry. And there are signs that this may be our pattern for several weeks. So if you are a fan of, you know, chilly air and rainstorms, for whatever reason, I don't think that's in the cards anytime soon. Sunset going down this evening at 6:42. Sunset a month from tonight at 5:55. Your 7-on-7 forecast. Some cool mornings, some mild afternoons, and except for a few isolated showers Friday morning, we're dry.
Thank you, JR. Well, a touching show of class coming out of a Texas high school happened just moments after the school crowned its homecoming queen.
Well, instead of soaking in the cheers, this queen gave her crown to a friend who had been bullied. And now this sweet, royally sweet gesture, you could say, is going viral.
When they called Lillian Skinner's name to wear the crown of homecoming queen in Grand Prairie, Texas, a high school tradition became much more profound.
She just deserves it all. Like, there's no way to describe how much good of a person she is.
There's something unique about the 17-year-old senior. Students describe her as a friend to everyone.
Look inside the accounts, not the outside. She's one of the nicest people I've ever met in the school.
But Lillian fell victim to a prank when a group of students told her she'd be nominated to the homecoming court when she hadn't. That's when two of Lillian's friends, who were nominees, hatched a plan to counter the bullies.
We promised each other, and we were like, no matter what, no backing down. If one of us wins, we're giving Lillian the crown.
The two spoke with a teacher who passed the idea along to the principal, who thought, these are the kinds of kids I want to be sending into the world.
In all my time in school, this is probably the greatest moment I've ever experienced as a principal.
And so it was a homecoming night. Lillian was taking photos for the school paper when the announcement came.
And your queen is Anaí Alvarez.
Thrilled for her friend, and what happened next, Lillian never saw coming.
We would like to announce Lillian Skinner. Please step forward and receive this honor.
She come here, she coming over and she put the crown on my head.
At Grand Prairie High School, the bullies wouldn't win. Lillian Skinner would, and she would wear the crown.
Seeing the look on her face and just the way she reacted towards it, it was priceless, and I knew that it was the right decision.
Man, that is some serious girl power right there.
It is.
I love that story.
I'm so happy to hear that.
All right, coming up here, are they baseball players or are they superheroes? The Red Sox rookie.
Or a mariachi band.
Oh my goodness. Look at these outfits. We will show you more if you want to see it coming up.
The Red Sox season quickly coming to an end, but before next weekend's final game, the veterans made sure to have fun with the rookies.
Oh boy, did they. Jamil Weeks posting this video online, and it shows first-year players dressed up in costumes during the team's final road trip. Feast your eyes, folks. Pitcher Anthony Renato also posted some pictures on Twitter, dressed up as Duff Man from The Simpsons, if you don't recognize him. There he is. I was thinking Captain America at a distance. He's got the same colors, but it definitely is not.
Yeah, I like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costumes. All right, so a young fan who had the chance to attend one of Jeter's last home games apparently isn't that impressed with the future Hall of Famer. Oh, it's not personal. But he hit a foul ball during Friday's game. The man gave the ball to his daughter. She went to see it, and then you saw she just threw that right back on the field. It's got quite an arm, by the way. So a ball boy went and retrieved it, tried to give it to another child, but that young fan made sure the baseball made it all the way back to the original family. That's hysterical. She's like, no, Dad, it goes here. I got it. I got it covered.
All right, still to come, NBC gets its voice back, but the hit reality show returning with a couple new judges, and we're going to hear from them coming way next in The Buzz.
Today's Buzz, music fans get ready because The Voice returns with an all-new season tonight.
They've got 2 new coaches as well. We said goodbye to judges Shakira and Usher, and now Gwen Stefani and Pharrell Williams are joining the team. So sitting alongside veteran judges Adam Levine and Blake Shelton. Boy, it should be quite a bit of verbal sparring here. They're competing to discover the next big music star, and the new coaches really seem to be fitting in.
I seriously, after day 1, I never laughed. I mean, I haven't laughed that hard in so long. I had a face headache.
My goal is to just reach people, you know, to reach them and like share everything that I learned and everything that I was taught and, you know, pay it forward.
So here's the full list of tonight's premieres. You can catch the start of the blind auditions for The Voice tonight at 8. That's followed by an all-new Blacklist at 10. And then you can stay with the night team for the day's top stories on 7 News at 11. You got to speak with some of the people from the Blacklist, right?
Yeah, I did, actually. And it was so funny because I think the big question going into the season premiere that's also tonight is he her dad or daddy? You know what I mean? Like, is he Liz's father? And it's this huge question. And JR, even the cast doesn't know. Nobody knows.
That's a good one right there. We have temperatures, mix of clouds and sunshine, low to mid 70s. Out of time, sorry.
All right, have a great day, everybody.